With the recent One Piece chapters that have been dropping, there are a couple of characters that I want to discuss. Now, if you're not a One Piece manga reader, please back out of the video because we will be covering up to chapter 1167. As a One Piece community, I feel like it's very interesting how we treat our characters, because one minute we love the characters, then the next minute we hate them, and then right after that we end up loving them again. All right, it's constantly flip-flopping with new information that has been dropping. But there are certain characters that I have stood firm in my beliefs on, and I feel like now is more time than ever to discuss these characters and really defend them. Some I would love to defend 100%, and there are others where I'm kind of on the tightrope and I don't know exactly where to fall, but I still am holding out hope for them. Now, the first character that gets slandered a lot is Monkey D. Garp. We know he's the grandfather of Luffy, and a lot of people have gotten on him because of his actions in God Valley. We know Garp as the hero of the Marines, and he always wants to go after Roger. So much so that he blindly went against all of the wrongdoings of the Marines and went to go attack Roger at God Valley. He wasn't worried about the people that were getting shot and tranquilized. He wasn't worried about the slaves. That was the narrative that was being pushed, the anti-Garp agenda. We get all of that, right? But once we got to see all of God Valley in its entirety, things kind of changed a little bit for Garp. Garp did question what the Marines were doing there. Well, he did not fight against any of the Holy Knights. He was not really countering the Marines or the world government there, but Garp looked like he still had more fervor towards Goldie Roger. Why was he not trying to combat against the evils that he saw at God Valley? Now, I'm not going to say that Garp is a fraud, because he did question Sengoku's actions after God Valley. He looked Sengoku in the eye and said, "How can you turn a blind eye to this stuff?" And Sengoku said, "Well, listen, if you want to make changes, you have to play dumb and move along with what the Marines and the world government were doing." Even though he knew it was evil, he knew he was not in a position to counter them. Garp, at the end of God Valley, made it seem like he was about that smoke. He wanted to counter the evils. He made it seem like he wanted to protect them. But Sengoku made sure to question Garp as well. He asked Garp, "Now that you know the evils of the world government and the Marines, are you still going to stay as a Marine?" And Garp made his decision. Garp chose to stay with the Marines because he felt that there were good Marines that still needed to have a guard dog. They needed to be protected, and nobody was going to protect the good Marines that are out there, which is kind of where my beliefs of Garp lie currently. The statement from the community that says Garp is a fraud is not an invalid statement. It's not wrong to say that, because Garp's actions and his words are not a one-to-one comparison. There's differences in them. Where Garp's heart lies is where a lot of us feel like it should lie, where Kuma is and all the revolutionaries and Dragon, even his own son. We see Garp having to battle with himself on this type of topic. But where his actions lie is that he still is moving with the Marines, which means there really is only one answer that can really save Garp from the slander of the community. And I believe it all lies in Sword. We have to see what level of involvement Garp has in Sword, and is Sword really going to change everything by countering Emu or the Gorosei? We have to see to what level is Sword involved in really being this type of rogue mission group from the Marines. We have to see the full entirety of what Sword has planned in the One Piece verse. Until that's all revealed to us, right now there's a question mark near Garp's name. There's an asterisk near Garp's name, because how can you say, Sengoku, how are you marching along to the evils of the world government and turning a blind eye while you are still staying in the Marines, Garp? You did not save really anybody in God Valley. So for me, Garp is definitely on thin ice, but I can't fully say he's a fraud, because he did question Sengoku. He did question what was going on at God Valley, because he really had no idea. The only reason Garp went to God Valley is because he heard Goldie Roger was pulling up, and he said, "Why didn't you guys tell me that sooner? I need to be there because Roger's there." And once he got there, he was like, "What the hell is going on?" But see, the difference is how Garp reacted and how his own son Dragon reacted. That's the difference. What we wanted Garp to do is what Dragon ended up doing. And this is why the second character I'm going to bring up needs to get way more respect on his name. I never want to hear slander on this character again. I've been telling y'all for years to leave him alone. We're going to find out more. We're going to see more. It would make no sense that he would get to this level of power and notoriety in the verse just for him to be a fraud. And that is Garp's son, Monkey D. Dragon. That is Luffy's father, Monkey D. Dragon, the head of the Revolutionary Army. Are you kidding me? I've been hearing Dragon is a fraud. Not based on his narrative, but based on his action. People have been questioning, Dragon's not taking actionable steps. He's always off screen. He's always looking east. Where is Dragon when the time is right? Now, if there was ever a time to stop questioning Dragon, it is after God Valley. Dragon literally showed us that the moment he saw something unethical going on, he was about to smoke. He ignored his officer's orders. He ignored them. He literally shot a celestial dragon. It was a tranquilizer bullet, but he saved Kuma's life. Dragon saved Shamrock and Shanks' lives. There's no Shanks, there's no Shamrock without Dragon. Shanks and Kuma are two very, very critical characters to the One Piece story. If Dragon doesn't save them, where are they? Not only did Dragon do that, but he made a home for the Revolutionary Armies. It started with the Freedom Fighters, right? Then it graduated on to the Revolutionary Army. A lot of people ask, why didn't Dragon slide for Ginny? Because he couldn't. He's responsible for an entire faction. And Dragon, more than anybody else, knows the mission. Because what Dragon saw at God Valley at such a young age made him realize that in order to oppose the threat of the Holy Knights and the world government and the Marines, you need to be calculated. You need to be strategic. And there is a reason why Dragon has the current highest bounty in the One Piece world. Not even people in the Cross Guild have a higher bounty than Dragon. And the Cross Guild literally puts bounties on the Marines' heads. There is a reason for that, people. And when I've been hearing Dragon is a fraud for years, I'm not just saying months, I'm saying years, that people have been questioning Dragon's power. They've been questioning his narrative. And I feel like after God Valley, I don't want to see Dragon as a fraud anymore. Even if Dragon's not active on screen, even if the Revolutionary Army left Baltigo when they heard Blackbeard was going to pull up. And I think the panel that solidified his stance the most is when Dragon was in prison and Garp went to go free his own son out of prison. And Dragon literally told Garp to his face, his own father, said, "I despise you." That to me was one of the most powerful panels in all of One Piece. Because Dragon became a Marine because of his father Garp. He respected his father so much. He was like, you know what? I'm going to follow in your footsteps. I'm going to be a Marine. Because you being a Marine means that you're helping the world. Let me help the world with you. I know the world needs help. This is what I want to do. This is my purpose. This is my mission in life. And when he joined the Marines, he saw the atrocities of the world government and the Marines. He saw what they were doing. And he's looking at it saying, Dad, how could you be in God Valley watching all of this go on and still wear your Marine coat? Dragon's statement to his father saying he despises him to me was literally one of the most powerful things. Dragon's like, I followed you. You're my father. I followed you and I despise what you are. And you have to understand, because even though Garp felt a certain way about it when he saw the evils of the world government at God Valley, he still is allowing it to happen. Yes, you want somebody to protect the good-hearted Marines that are out there, but Dragon is literally questioning that logic. The best way to protect the good-hearted Marines is for the good-hearted Marines to leave the Marines, because there's no protection that's happening there. And we're seeing this in Harald. The conversation, the conflict between Rox and Harald is this very same conversation. What is the best way to go about doing good for your people? Rox already knew that the world government was evil. Not saying Rox was the most benevolent pirate warrior of all time, but he knew that the world government was evil. He knew that there was nothing good to come from them. And he tried over and over and over again to convince his best friend Harald to buy in and join him, because he knew that even though you want Elbaf to be accepted, it's not going to happen with the world government. Because even Garp being one of the heroes of the Marines, right? People love Garp, especially after God Valley. He put in a bid for the Giants to be accepted within the Marines. And what did Kong say? He said, it's not my choice. I can't even say this can happen. The higher ups in the Marines and the world government would not accept the Giants, even after Garp was asking for it. So Dragon saying this to his dad is basically confirming that your logic of saying you want to be the guard dog for the good Marines is a contradiction. Just the fact that you wear a Marine coat, you already are acting on behalf of the world government. You are capitulating to whatever Emu says. When Emu is like, yo, this is Mu's world, Garp, you're on that side of history. No matter what you say, I don't care if you make sword. Sword is not good enough. You need to be a revolutionary. This is what Dragon basically was saying. At least that's how I interpreted that panel. It's the very foundation, it's the origin of the freedom fighters going into the Revolutionary Army. Dragon literally telling his dad that he despises him. I despise what you are, is it. And that should be our answer for the Marines. Again, I don't ever want to hear people saying Dragon is a fraud. Leave Dragon out of this. But there's one more character I want to discuss that has been getting killed for years, and you already know once I say the word rat, you already know what I'm talking about. You already know who it is. Red-haired Shanks. People have been saying red hair Shanks is a fraud. I've been hearing Shanks is evil, all of these other things for years and years and years, even before the reveal of Shamrock. Now, I never believed Shanks was evil. I always stood on the side of history that questioned, if Shanks were truly evil, why would he not reveal his evil hands now? There were so many moments in One Piece that I feel like he should have been revealed. He should have flipped the script. Even when the Gorosei pulled up to Egghead, that is the biggest time, more than any time, for Shanks to be like, hey, by the way, guys, I'm evil. I'm on the side of Imu. That never happened. And even if we want to say that maybe it was still Shanks that had the conversation with the Gorosei and it wasn't Shamrock, even though I do think it was Shamrock. It could be Shanks, but I do believe it was Shamrock. Shanks has shown us time and time again that he is against what the world government and the Marines are doing. Time and time again, Shanks literally gave Luffy the Nika fruit, one of the most feared fruits in the world government. What would Shanks get from that if he were truly evil? It literally would make no sense. How would Imu even convince Shanks that this is the proper way to go down? Like, literally, this would make no sense at all for Shanks to do this. Shanks aiding Fisher Tiger in his rebellion in the Holy Land. Why would Imu have Shanks do this? It literally would make no sense for Shanks to be like, hey, by the way, I'm evil and I'm lining all this up being a double agent for the world government. Him forming one of the strongest pirate crews. Him stopping the war at Marine Ford. He didn't fight to protect the Marines. Shanks said, I'm here to fight everybody. Marines, Blackbeard pirates, whoever wants to smoke, the red hair pirates will answer the call. How do you look at these scenes? How do you read these manga panels and say Shanks is evil? Still, I don't understand it. And one of the biggest signs of all is that we know that Shanks, when he went to go rejoin the Figureland family in the Holy Land to be a double agent, to gain intel, he got a tattoo. He got an insignia, right? On his arm. So he was contractually binded to Imu. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, where is that arm now? It's gone. Now, I've seen a lot of things happening on the internet, especially after chapter 1167. People have been saying, well, if you look at their outfits, back in the day, Shamrock and Shanks had these Holy Knight outfits, and it looks like current day Shamrock is wearing the same Holy Knight outfit that Shanks was wearing in the flashback. So people are now saying, well, what if Shamrock is the good guy and Shanks is truly evil? And what if all the times we saw Shanks doing something good, it was actually Shamrock, but we didn't know? And again, I ask you guys, what motive would Shanks have to do this? In the grandest stage, God Valley, where Imu is boxing against Big Mom, Whitebeard, Kaido, Rocks, Roger, how can you guys look at this and say Shanks has a bigger brain and his final reveal is gonna be even bigger than what Imu is doing when Imu pops out? Because Imu has popped out more times than ever now. It literally would make no sense. I'm still trying to figure this out. But the simple fact that Shamrock, when he pulled up to Elbaf, he literally was ready to kill Loki right then and there. He was going to kill Loki. Shanks allowed him to live. Shanks has a good relationship with Elbaf. We know this. Dorian Bragi literally one-shotted Captain Kidd's ship. When Shamrock pulled up, he unleashed the Holy Knights on the building and then dipped out because he got called back to the Holy Land. What motive does Shanks have? I ask everybody that say Shanks is a fraud and Shanks is evil. Even after all this information, we're still questioning whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. And to me, I feel like we need to have a motive before we can even start questioning anything else. Because if Shanks does pop out to be evil out of nowhere, literally this would be one of the worst plays of all time. Because Shanks does not have any motive to do the good that he was doing in order to be a double agent to gain intel. Like, it literally makes no sense. How does Luffy getting the Nika fruit, how does helping Fisher Tiger leave the Holy Land and free the slaves, how does any of that help Imu? It doesn't. It doesn't help Imu at all. The moment they found out Luffy had the Hito no Mi Maru Nika, the Gorosei were like, damn, this could be Joy Boy 2.0. They don't want that. So the only other thing we can say is that the person that gave it to Luffy was in fact Shamrock and not Shanks. Well, where's Shamrock's arm? If they're doing a switcheroo, like, it's just not consistent. Okay, all the Shanks' evil stuff, to me, Shanks' a rat memes, to me, are completely dead. It's not consistent. And I'm not saying that Shanks is not going to be revealed to have committed some atrocities back in the day, because I think that's very plausible. The fact that he does have Figureland blood flowing through his veins is all we really need to know. But I believe that his actions have proven that he was a double agent and that he did evil stuff. He said evil things in order to gain intel on how to defeat the world government. He did not want to blow his cover. He had to play the game. He had to be an actor. I think there are more signs that point to that than the signs that say Shanks is evil. Those are my beliefs. Now, if Oda comes out in next chapter and says, psych, Shanks was actually evil, I'll say I was wrong, I'll eat crow, but I feel like there have been way too many instances for Shanks to reveal himself as the evil guy, and that never ever happened because Shanks's motives have never ever aligned with being an evil person. He's a person that literally had connections to the most evil organization in One Piece and exploited that in order to gain intel to help the world. Now, out of the three characters we have just discussed, I feel like the one that's on thinnest ice is Garp. Garp still needs to answer with Sword. If Sword does not end up being one of the best organizations we are seeing countering the evils of the world, Garp is done. I feel like it's completely valid to say Garp is a fraud because you easily could have joined your son in the Revolutionary Army if you truly felt that this was the way. And if you believe that there are some good-hearted Marines out there, why have Sword be there when you could just join your son in the Revolutionary Army and then tell those Marines to leave? Because it's not just the Marines that protect people. The Revolutionary Army protects people too. I don't know, you guys let me know your thoughts. Somebody did ask me to speak on the morality of Garp and all these other things, and I kind of wanted to touch on Garp, Dragon, and Shanks because those are the characters I see getting killed a lot in the community, and I feel like they deserve a lot more respect. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.